resilient listeners. I'm so excited to have my friend Stacy Cordova on the show. I've known her for about a year, and she's just a blessing. I'm very excited to share her and share your story with you, our listeners. So, Stacy, welcome to the show.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. So the first thing that I would love for our listeners to hear is sort of a really short biography of who you are and where you are in the world, and what you do for your day job and what you do for your dream job.
So my name is Stacy Cordova Diaz, and I am born and raised near the Los Angeles area in Southern California. I am a lifelong teacher. I feel like I started working in education when I was a baby myself, but I was 18. I started out as an aide and then became a teacher and then became a special education teacher, then became an administrator. And then during this last year, I went back to being a teacher because I realized that my sanity and my peace of mind meant more to me than climbing up the ladder into administration. So I've been a lifelong educator, and my specialty is special education. It has always felt like a calling to me. I first started working with students with learning disabilities, students with traumatic brain injury, students with autism. And then I went really niche and I started to work with students who were visually impaired and blind. And I then moved on to work with students who were orthopedically impaired, due to maybe cerebral palsy, to, spina bifida, muscular dystrophy. So I just have this real passion for students with unique needs. So yeah, that's who I am as far as day job.
Oh, no, I love it. I love it. I can appreciate that as a student with traumatic brain injury. It feels like people who are called to work with people such as myself, you can feel it. So it sounds like it's truly something that you're called to do.
It's weird. I just had this weird, pull towards these worlds. And I think myself growing up, I know that I had a form of disability, but when we were growing up in the early 80s, no one was diagnosed. You just were told to be quiet. Or sent outside. Right. And I was the little girl that was always jumping from like desk to desk to say hi to everybody and to constantly moving and jumping around. So I just, and I was always getting in trouble for it. And that was all the way until even college. And so I just have a real heart for students who learn differently or who need different structures. And because I just understand their needs. So yeah, thank you. It is a calling.
So what's your current project? What are you currently working on right now?
My dream projects. So I have quite a few going on. One in last year, as 2020 was a crazy year for a lot of people, and it messed with me as well. And I was in a really, really tough job as an administrator that I give it to all administrators, because if you are really trying, it is a hard job because you cannot make anybody happy. And, that's really important to me to help people. And I just felt like I wasn't helping anyone. And I was slowly losing all of my energy. And so last year hit me real hard with some family stuff. And so I was at my wit's end, and I decided I needed self-care. So I started this little group that has really become a really safe space for me. And I love it. And it's called Self-Care Commune. I'm a hippie at heart. And I feel like if I was alive in the 60s, I would have been absolutely in this movement. And I started this, it was more for me because, we teach what we need. And I really needed to up my game and feed myself. And so I just started diving in deep to self-care and what is it? And, you hear about it all the time, but like, what does it mean? And so I really started to look at for me, 7 areas and start to look at how can I get myself in each of these areas and be more well-rounded instead of just depleted and burnt out. So that's one of my projects, but it also feeds into another project that I'm doing because I have such varied interests, but I'm writing a book. And that's how I'm so excited. That's how I get to know you. Because I'm writing this book about systemic racism and, how it affected my family, but it's also my story tied into it as well as some American history. So it's the book is really a tough book to write. And so I've needed even more self-care because it can be emotionally draining writing about your family's history with, racism. So it's tough.
Before I ask you about the book, can we go into a little bit
Oh
your
my gosh,
7 areas of self-care?
So I have 7 areas. If you looked online, you'll see some people have 6, some people have 5, but I've chosen 7 because I love giving a day of the week to each of the self-cares. So the self-care areas. So for me, for example, Monday is mental self-care. So that's doing things that like really stimulate your mind. So, whether that's reading a book or learning something new, that just kind of broadens your horizons. Doing crossword puzzles, doing a puzzle to me is like mental self-care. And then you've got Tuesday, which I've given to physical self-care. So, that's really upping your physical game. So are you stretching? Are you doing yoga, Pilates? Are you riding your bike? What are you doing to just help in your physical needs? Wednesday is professional self-care. And professional self-care are things that nurture your work spirit, your work. So for me, it was like, signing up for professional development. I will give you the caveat. I love learning. So you'll find that a lot of things I say are about learning new things. But professional self-care is about, creating boundaries at work. How are you filling your cup at work instead of just emptying your cup? Thursdays is practical self-care, which is, the unsexiest of this self-care, which is like, putting your laundry away, which is one of mine, or like doing your laundry, or, making your appointments for your doctor's visits, or, getting your receipts in order for your tax appointment that's coming up. So it's those types of things. So taking care of, just your household needs, those things that kind of keep you grounded, your grocery shopping, grocery list. Friday is my social self-care. Because, I think a Friday night going out, social, like how are you engaging with your friends? How are you engaging with your, the people around you? Then I've got spiritual self-care. I think I'm missing a day here, but spiritual self-care is definitely on my Sunday. And, it's, I know I skipped a day here. But spiritual self-care is like, what is it that feeds your soul? That's how I like to think of it. Is going to a museum for you? Is it going to church? Is it meditating? What is it that feeds your spiritual needs? Is it going into nature? Which, a lot of these can overlap. And then the one I did miss was emotional self-care, which some might say, well, what's the difference between emotional and mental? So emotional is like, how are you feeding your, just your emotional needs? Are you seeing a therapist? Are you, what are you doing to actively stimulate that area and feed that part of you? So those are my areas. Sometimes, of course I mix days, but, that's the self-care, the self-care categories for me.
I was going to ask you which one was your favorite one to do, but that would be a tough call. But I also, I can see as you were talking about them, it's ideal if you could mix some of each of them into every day. It sounds like a really good, well-rounded way to take care of yourself. I think that, God, those are wonderful, wonderful goals. And it's nice because it sounds like you're treating them with a very kind and loving manner and not like a mandate, which could then make it hard and then make people resentful of not doing them.
Some people I share about this, and it depends on where you're at in the journey. Some people are like, leave me alone. I don't need this. Or, you're being frivolous. But for me in my journey where I'm at, I truly needed these because I was so burned out. I had become a roaring, just witch to my husband. I felt bad to everybody I was around. I was going to bed like at 8 because I just was so exhausted and couldn't even speak to anyone. I just feel so like, so I definitely needed these to kind of balance me out because I was way on the far end.
Oh, I think it's wonderful. I adore the ideas. I think that they're incredible. And they're just really good reminders. That's part of what I love about the group. And you didn't share that part yet, but Stacy's got an Instagram group and a Facebook group that are based around the commune. And it's nice as a real gentle daily reminder to
Yes.
be kind to yourself and do these things, not because you have to, but because it's nourishing and comforting to take care of yourself in all of these different areas.
So true. Thank you. I'm so glad you're in it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Now I can't let the book part go, and I've got a lot of knowledge about the book, but why don't you kind of give us a little bit more?
The book has been on my mind for a long time. I was told the story by my aunt when I was in college and I was taking a Chicano studies class. And my aunt, we were supposed to interview someone who'd lived the Mexican American experience or even the Latino experience. So I'd interviewed people of, who came here from Cuba, from South America. But I had interviewed my aunt, not realizing I was going to get such an incredible story from her. And so my aunt Mary, she shared with me that when she was 13 years old, she was put into an asylum or a hospital, and she was forcibly sterilized. Well, what she shared with me was how mad she was at my grandfather and her family, which my grandfather was her older brother and her sister. She said that they took her to the hospital because she was a wild young girl and she wouldn't listen. And that they had her forcibly sterilized. So, again, this is 1997. She tells me this story. And so, I'm just completely shocked. I'm so upset with my family that how could they do this to this very young girl? But I did not know all the details. So fast forward, and excuse me if my dates are wrong, but it was around 2017. I am listening to NPR. And NPR, there's a Dr. Stern calling, and she gave an interview about how California was the number one who forcibly sterilized people in the United States. And their primary target was Mexican American people who had last names that were Spanish surnames. So I am just blown away by this news. She's telling me, the dates. I immediately reached out to her and told her my aunt's story, and she got her researchers and found all of my aunt's information. So this just blew my mind because now it went from being a shameful family secret to being this thing that was like systemic racism that that I think so many people don't know. I am a teacher. I'm telling you, I never learned about this in high school nor in college. I didn't even know about this. I've talked to so many people about, do you know about the eugenics movement? And they're like, what are you talking about? You mean what Hitler did? And it's like, no, not what Hitler did, what we did and what we actually helped Hitler. So, and that's fact. This book is in my heart. And then George Floyd's murder happens. And I'm just like, you got to get this book out. This is just time. It's enough's enough. Write it. So I just started writing this book about my aunt's story, the history of eugenics, and then my story of being a teen mom. And I was 15 when I had my daughter. And I just think if I was living when my aunt did, I would have been forcibly sterilized because of my Spanish surname. And it just kind of blows my mind to think of just this political climate. And when I go into the history of this political climate, the things that were said in 1920s, 1930s, all of it, because it was all tied to immigration, is just exactly the rhetoric that was being said by the past presidential group. And, all of the supporters. So it's just time that, we stop with this. I just think this rhetoric is disgusting and it's dangerous. And I need to tell my aunt's story.
Oh, I'm so glad you are. It's reprehensible. It's and the fact that I too, when we first started talking about your book, I know a little bit about eugenics because when I wrote my book about Oregon and about the history of eugenics and racism in Oregon. But to know how widespread it was, and as you and I have talked about your book, listeners, it's pretty incredible how pervasive, like Stacy's saying, the eugenics movement and the systemic, stamping out of people literally through their wombs, basically, that our country has
Yes.
participated in for many, many, many years. It's just absolutely sickening. So it's incredible that these kinds of things are coming out, and I'm so I feel like meeting you was really it was fascinating for me because it bookended on my own tiny little sliver of experience with that, just researching it. So to hear your aunt's reality, it's just so
Thank
interesting
you.
and so
Thank you.
incredible.
You've been so
Oh, it
helpful on
really
this
is.
journey with me because I have never considered myself a writer. I still don't consider myself a writer. In
Mm-hmm.
fact, it's a part of me that I'm embarrassed sometimes by my writing. And so this has been a really tough book to write because I want to give my aunt her fair justice and I want to write it in a beautiful way, but I'm also trying to build up my writing, and it's very, it's an intense process.
Well, I can tell you that.
Okay,
like
that's
that
so good to
for
hear. And
lots of us.
you've been so helpful with me and patient. And so I'm just so grateful. I'm grateful. Thank you.
Oh, me too. Well, and I think that your experience, even of just the writing of this book and doing something completely new and different for you, even though you are a teacher and you've been a teacher for many years, how resilient is that, right? To keep learning new skills to further you on your journey. I
love that
really
perspective.
appreciate
Thank
that.
you. Because I love learning. That has been what has gotten me through everything in my life, is just this love of learning how to get through things or, strategies. So yes, resiliency. I love it.
What other kinds of stuff do you do for fun? Do you like to ride
I
bikes, play
love
tennis?
hiking. I love
What other kinds of
walking.
things
I
are
could
your
just
thing?
walk for hours. I love going camping. I love going to museums. That is probably one of my favorite things. We have a lot of museums here near Los Angeles, so I'm always going to a new museum, exploring. During pandemic, obviously we can't really go to museums. I do a lot of exploring on YouTube. Just like, well, gosh, I've never been to the Gaudi, museum. So let me travel to Spain. So yeah, those are like my fun things. And I have a granddaughter, and so I just love being with her and, exploring places with her. So I love exploring. Yes.
Ooh, well, and that's a different form of learning. So that all makes sense. I really like there's an online, a couple of different online tours of the Louvre, and I've never been to the Louvre, so I've been doing that too.
Yes,
been a
please
really
send
good
that to me.
armchair
I would
traveling
love. I've never been to the
experience.
Louvre either. That's one of my dreams.
Oh, I love that. Well, and it's funny. I got started because of my daughter's school. She was doing a project on Egypt, and they have a lot of things from the Egyptian Museum. Cool. They have a traveling exhibit there at the Louvre.
So cool.
So that's what got us into it. It was really fun. My best friend's an artist, so I get to go to the Jordan Schnitzer fairly often when it's not pandemic time, which is a museum here at the University of Oregon. So they have a fantastic Asian American art collection, and all sorts of. We got to see Chagall last year and a Matisse, and I'm lucky to have
Yes.
really nice museums in your backyard. Oh, and being in the LA area,
which
one is your favorite
I love
museum
the Broad.
You can go to it in person,
which is a free museum. It's more modern art, but also I'm a member at the Huntington Library near San Marino, which is really beautiful because it's gardens and artwork and architecture and history. So it builds a lot of stuff. So I love going there. Those are like my favorites.
So it sounds like you have a very strong. I always like to ask people about their support system. It sounds like you have a very strong support system within your family. Do you feel like asking for help has been easy or hard?
That's a good question. Okay, I grew up in a family okay, my mom's parenting style was get over it. Of course, when we fell, she was very kind and loving to us and would take care of us. But my mom was not the type of person who you never could sit or whine about anything. It was like, get over it, move on, life's short, stop this. It was very much that kind of parenting style. And
Gotcha.
So, growing up, that's just kind of how we were raised. And, I appreciate it in so many ways. So she basically is a figure it out kind of person. Like figure it out, figure it out. And work hard, figure it out, be a good person. That's kind of how we were raised. And so growing up, although I received tons of help from my family, I was 15 when I had my daughter, and they were the ones who were like, I could never have done this without them. And so they gave so much support, but they were also like, we've given you this amazing gift. Now you need to go make your way in this world. And so that's kind of how my mom was with us. And so that's just kind of what I've done. Very self-reliant. Like we had to pay for our own college. We had to pay for our own living. I had to start paying rent when I was 18. Like there was no free lunches. But, it really taught me to make my way. And so, when it comes down to resiliency, I'm like, we had to figure it out and make it happen. And yes, I know my parents are always there to support me, but it was always figure it out on your own.
Well, it sounds like it definitely created an inner core of strength and can-do kind of spirit that has served you well.
I like, for example, money. Like since we were kids, we were raised. My mom had her own issues with money in her family, and so with us, it was always like, do not ask us for anything. Do not ask us. You figure it out. Whether you get a job, a second job, or a third job, go get it. And so, we just learned how to make ways for ourselves, and I feel like I've become successful because I've learned those ways.
Now, would you say that part of doing that, are you a routine driven person? Are you more of a
I am an impulsive fly by the seat of my pants kind of person. And I think it goes back to that whole like suspecting that I have not suspecting, I know it, ADHD, that hyperactivity, which has fueled me and helped me. But as I'm getting older, I now crave routine, and I'm really working on routine and structure. I feel like I'm the opposite of a midlife crisis, where I think people who have the midlife crisis are like structured and routine, and then they want to blow it all up and, go get a sports car. And I'm kind of going the opposite. I mean, granted, I want the sports car, but I'm going the opposite direction of like, I really want structure to my life, and I want to follow these rules because I've just been a rule breaker my entire life.
So you said you've been reading a whole lot this year. What are your favorite books that you've read, or podcasts, or movies,
I love this.
Things that have kind of fueled you the last year?
Top one for listeners, if you have not read this, pick up The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. That was the start. I read that in April. I read it in one day. It was raining. I couldn't put it down. And that book has changed my life. It's basically like, go for it. Live your life, live in your zone of genius. And he kind of took me down a rabbit hole of finding, different people. So, so anything Gay Hendricks, I'm a huge fan of. Cool. And also he's just so active and engaging on social media, and you just feel like you get to know him. He has a podcast called The Big Leap too. And I just do a deep dive. The next one I just read that really has changed some things is the book Do Less by Kate Northrup. She has it based on some work based on the Woman Code, but it's all about cyclical living and living based on your menstruation cycle, or if you do not have your period, living on the moon cycle. And she just paints such a beautiful picture of how to do this. And she's really motivated me. So those are some really big ones. I have a ton of other ones, but those are like my top two right now that have really inspired me to kind of live that structured life that I'm craving, but also living big.
Oh, I can't wait to pick up both of those. I've read a ton this year, but I've been on a fiction kick lately. I'm not usually I read mysteries when I read fiction, but I've been reading a huge fantasy series because, like you, I just wanted to forget all of the bad things in the last year. And so I haven't been, I've been kind of engrossed in that. So I'm ready to dive back into more of that introspective.
I think I read one fiction, and I do need to broaden my horizons and read a little bit more fiction and variety.
I was not really all that into fantasy type stuff, but I was in it.
I'm with you. I think we need some fantasy right now.
I couldn't handle it anymore. Yeah, it was nice. I did not mind it at all. Now, do you have pets in your life? One of the things I often talk to the people I interview is about how sometimes pets are very very nurturing and very soul affirming. Do you have pets
I have a
that you take
beautiful little
care of and
pup.
that help take care of
She's
you?
actually an old girl. Her name is Stella. She's a little dog. She's our puppy, but she's 13 and we just adore her. She's like our little creature.
Oh.
And then I have my animal that's my spirit animal that I strive to be like, which is I have a Mojave desert tortoise, which they're on the endangered list, but I don't know even.
Wow.
I've always wanted a tortoise, and I found a lady who had it and was moving into an apartment, and so I told her that I would help take care of it. And I actually fostered 4 of her other tortoises, but this one she gave me and allowed me to keep, and he is. We don't know if it's a he or she, but we call it Curtis. Curtis is hibernating right now, but I love him. I love it. It's like when it is out there, it just teaches me slow and steady wins this race. And just, he gets everything he needs and he's just the best. So he's my reminder of slow down. I bring him in at night, like when it gets colder, because I could, if something happened to him, I don't know what I would do. But right now he's hibernating in the house because he's ready for him to crawl out when he's ready.
Oh, I didn't know that they hibernate. I don't know
They're
anything
so
else.
fascinating. They're just really the most fascinating creatures. Yeah, he hibernates. He went in November and he should be coming out soon, but they hibernate pretty much all winter. And it's weird too, because you see it. You see them start to slow down. They don't eat. And at first I was scared that I'm like, am I putting them in at the wrong time?
Oh.
But they come in when they need, and they go out when they need.
All right. So is the commute, is the commune ready for
the commune is totally open to people. So
you?
I'm on Instagram at Self-Care Commune. I'm on Facebook. We have a private group. I wanted it private because I really wanted this to be an intimate experience and people to feel like they're safe to share. I didn't want it to be a place where people are sold things or it's, I wanted just like experiences and so you have to answer just a couple questions to get in, but it's Self-Care Commune. And then, so the goal is I will be starting some courses soon for teacher burnout, because one, I lived it. I got myself out of it, and I'd like to help others who are in this burnout phase too, because I think teaching is a calling. I think we need more teachers. I think it is one of those areas like social work, where, you give so much, and sometimes you don't get a lot back in return, but we're still so needed, and we do get a lot back in returns in helping change lives, but sometimes it's difficult. So that's the next phase of this is courses, which I think will be starting in probably summer of 2021 and definitely fall of 2021 when we return back to school. It's all very fulfilling.
So if listeners want to get a hold of you, they can do that through.
Yeah, and I have a website, www.selfcare.com. That's 3 W's. And it's a fun little place where I have like a calendar. I call it like my farmer's almanac of self-care. But it has like when are the full moons? Because if you're going to start to live your life cyclically, like, are you using the moons to help you? Or, what are some fun dates to celebrate yourself or some activities to give you some more self-care? So I also have resources that I really love, books that really changed my life. I have a podcast that you can find me at Self-Care Communion. So Self-Care Communion, it's on Apple or wherever you get your podcasts. And it's just a time where I love to communicate with others and share, what self-care they're using and how they're getting through their lives.
Oh, I can't wait. Fun. That's fun and exciting for me. And thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it so much.
Thank you. I love what you're doing.
Sometimes we have to start over. Sometimes we have to fight back. Sometimes it's all too much. Lost just inside the black. Our stories are brilliant. We are resilient. Our stories are brilliant. We are resilient. Sometimes we need to lift the voices